Okay.
Yes, come in.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Please be seated.
Thank you, sir.
Are you fully vaccinated?
Yes, sir.
No symptoms of COVID?
No, sir.
You may remove your mask. Navdeep Aggarwal,
Sir.
please introduce yourself to the board, highlighting your educational qualification and work experience.
Sir and ma'am, I am Navdeep Aggarwal. I belong to Firozpur, Punjab. I did my 10th standard from St. Joseph's Convent School, Firozpur. Thereafter, I did my 12th standard from Shivalik Public School, Chandigarh. After which, I did my graduation from BITS Pilani in Electronics and Electrical and MSc Maths. Thereafter, I got selected in Indian Forest Service in the batch 2017. And presently, I am posted as Regional Manager in the Punjab State Forest Development Corporation, sir.
Okay, so Navdeep, you are already a member of the Great Indian Civil Service,
Sir.
Isn't it?
Sir.
We are in the year 2022, 2022, and the Indian bureaucracy remains the greatest impediment to the progress of the country. That is the perception which is emerging. Apart from allegations of corruption, red tapeism, your nepotism, lack of specialized skill, political interference, so on and so forth. Two areas are there which are of great concern. One is indecision on the part of bureaucrats to take decisions, and second is risk aversion. You have worked in the bureaucracy for last 2 years almost. Tell me, am I wrong in this perception that indecision and the second part which I said about lack of this thing, taking responsibility, is it not correct in the bureaucracy? Does not it explain true face of the bureaucracy?
So, bureaucracy certainly faces a lot of challenges right now. The perceptions that are there are not completely untrue. There are certain aspects which need to be worked upon, especially with respect to indecision, but we need to take care of why this indecision has taken place over the years. What is the role of certain regulatory agencies that prevent certain bureaucrats to take decisions firmly? Why the activism of certain Cs, that as we call them, like CAG or CVC, or for that matter courts. So all those reasons are quite pressing for us to actually work towards a path of reforms in bureaucracy. So these perceptions are not completely untrue, but there are a lot of
what is the way forward? You tell me, you know, that you are a member of that bureaucracy, and bureaucracy has to work in our country under tremendous pressure. So many internal pressure exerted through the politicians, outside pressure, and still you have to perform, isn't it? And if bureaucrats don't perform, country can't progress. So another related perception which is emerging, that bureaucracy which has served this country for the last 75 years is not fit to serve this country for next 75 years. What changes should be brought in to the bureaucracy to bring an element of efficiency?
Sir, I think firstly, the technology aspect of the current disposition should be encouraged at war footing, because technology can solve a lot of issues of inefficiency. Secondly, I would talk about increasing the transparency and accountability aspects through various schemes like RTI, but that should be done in a more comprehensive manner. Thirdly, the training that we get should be updated every now and then. It should not be like it started in the starting and then after 9 years, after 12 years. So instead of that, there should be a regular updation of skills so that we are able to come in terms with the exact problems and the dynamics of the society today. So fourthly, I would suggest that the bureaucracy needs to be more empathetic towards the actual problems of the society by involving themselves into the field and getting to know the feedback from the people themselves rather than having a top-down approach. So
don't you think that the 3 C's which you mentioned, CVC, CNAG and CVI most probably, the 3 C's, their role should be really restricted so as to give a free hand to right-minded bureaucrats to really help develop the society?
Sir, their role is quite important in my point of view, but what we have seen of late is that whatever is done is more of a postmortem kind of an approach. So if we take proactive steps when the decisions are taken and not in the retrospective domain, then a lot of things, if we realize that decisions were taken at that point of time considering the exigencies of the situation, then probably there will be more freedom to the bureaucrats to actually take risks.
Don't you think that particularly this your departmental agencies of vigilance, they have outlived their utility? They don't play any constructive role. Instead of finding some pinpricks here and there, they don't have any constructive role.
Sir, I would not say that, sir. The role is quite immense in a democratic setup, and we are a constitution with proper checks and balances. Such kind of institutions are required. It's just that after 75 years of independence, we will have to look at the reforms in every institution so that they are at par with the current needs of the time.
So what is your final opinion? Means justify the end or end justifies the means?
Sir, these are two extremes, sir. I would look at the situation and then talk about the answer about it, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir.
Navdeep,
Sir.
2014, 15, 16, 3 years you wrote the examination continuously.
Yes, sir.
Then you took a break of 4 years and you have resumed writing exam again 2021. It means that you were enjoying your job as you joined the Indian Forest Service, but lately there is some sense of disillusionment with the job. Why?
Sir, I would not say it is a disillusionment with the job. It is more of my personal reasons that I have seen throughout my job. So earlier I was not able to give the exam because of the training schedule, and I got married, I have a kid. So I was not very sure that I would want to give it, because Indian Forest Service is a very good service, an excellent service in my opinion. In the last year, after having settled down and seen the work of IAS and the IPS very closely, especially when I worked as the COVID nodal officer in the migrant crisis, I could realize that this job in the next 30 years would be more challenging and satisfying for me as a career. And also the ambit of IAS and IPS is quite wide, and the public service domain is far-reaching. So I decided I should take out one more time and give it complete attempt one last time.
One of the important sustainable development goals is to increase the forest cover, and you are already engaged in that work. What's the total area, by the way, forest area in Punjab?
So the total area is about 6.27%, sir.
In terms of square kilometers?
Sir, it is about 3,000 square kilometers, sir.
Okay, which is 6% of the total geographical area of
about
Punjab.
50,000 square kilometers.
And that is also largely cornered in some part of Punjab. It's not spread evenly in the entire state. And we study for last 3-4 decades that due to green revolution, even marginal land is being cultivated by farmers, and so forest is shrinking. Now government is also damaging the forest in the name of developing infrastructure facilities. Tens of thousands of trees are being cut to construct one road. Now this Char Dham 4-laning is also damaging the ecological balance. Do you think we are really interested in sustainable development, or are we just making some hollow noises?
So sustainable development, as the name suggests, is balancing the environment with that of development, and also empowering the people who are affecting by it. So if we talk about the dichotomies, then development and environment might fall at different poles, but sustainable development, it takes care of both the balances. Certainly you are right, sir, in the perception that once some environment is destructed, it cannot be recreated. But because we are a developing country, we need to look at how we can mitigate the impact of such kind of activities, and how we can come out with a sustainable model. So it is not a fallacy to say that sustainable development will not lead to such a bad thing, sir.
How many sustainable development goals set by the UN we are seriously pursuing, and if you could recall, with the help of some programs, that we are making concrete efforts towards reaching that goal?
So there are 17 sustainable development goals, and almost in all the goals we are doing certain steps. But if we talk about the concrete steps, sir, if we talk about the health, the education in the health sectors, or the Ayushman Bharat Sir, the 5 lakh, I'm not able to recall the exact scheme, sir. Sir, in education, the new education policy 2020 has far-reaching effects on how we can make the education more equitable and more employable in terms of how the students will come out of the colleges. And if we talk about sustainable cities, we have certain SDG India goals. There are certain indices that are talking about how we can improve our sustainability angle. So likewise, sir.
In spite of all the tall claims, the fact remains that we are having the dirtiest cities in the world. Even our capital is the dirtiest capital of the world.
So,
do you see any concrete progress in spite of all the efforts which the government is claiming to be making?
so there are certain positive steps, sir. For example, in pollution, if we talk about, we have clarified what are the reasons, the main reasons for it. If we talk about the capital, it is not just the vehicular pollution, but also the smog that is coming out of the stubble forming from the nearby states. So steps are taken in collaboration with those states so that the pollution comes down. It's just a stepwise mechanism, sir. Very many anti-smog uh, machines have been installed in various places in Delhi. So I would say the steps are taken, but much more needs to be done in this regard, sir.
Okay, Navdeep, thank you.
Sir, thank
Navneet,
you. Navdeep, yes.
tell me, what is your opinion about Punjab's new government? Will it be able to eradicate corruption?
Ma'am, the new government has come with a very strong mandate, that is 92 out of 117 seats. And there is a lot of hope among people that they will eradicate, because the mandate with which they came was eradicating corruption, eradicating the drug problem, the unemployment issues, the rural distress. All these issues are quite pressing for the people of Punjab. And because there is a hope, which is a very strong thing, I think people would be willing to support the government in their endeavors now.
Tell me any 2 steps they have taken recently.
Ma'am, the first one was the doorstep ration delivery scheme that was there in Delhi, but was not able to we were not able to implement them fully. The second was from the 1st of July, 300 units of power would be free to all the consumers, ma'am.
Should a debt-ridden state give these kind of freebies?
Ma'am, I am against the concept of freebies in that aspect, but if it is rationalized later during the policy making, then we can come up with a better subsidies regimes now, not freebies as such.
Okay. Tell me, you are an electronics engineer, and India is lacking badly in electronics manufacturing. Why so?
If we talk about the semiconductor industry in specific, we started off with one industry which was there in Chandigarh, in Mohali, but it was burned down, and after that we've not seen any national level semiconductor industry, because majorly of 2 reasons. One is that it is a quite skill intensive industry. Second, we need foundries and we need that kind of silica sand and various other fabrication devices which are not present in India, because they're quite costly and the technology is also new for India in that aspect. So we are moving towards these kind of initiatives through PLI schemes, or let's say the national policy on electronics. So we are moving towards that path, but a lot needs to be done in this aspect now.
Okay, give me 3 steps what Indian electronics market can do.
If we see the success of the PLI scheme, the incremental sales that they will generate out of creating such semiconductors applications in terms of raw manufacturing, that will definitely improve and give the skills to the required people. Secondly, ma'am, through various FTAs that we are having with various countries like that of Australia, UAE has signed recently, there's a huge market outside for such demand of such products. And thirdly, ma'am, I'm not able to recall the government steps as such as of now.
Okay. You are very fond of dancing on Bollywood music.
Yes.
Tell me, why is that Bollywood music is increasingly becoming more vulgar and more abusive in its context?
Ma'am, it's a concept of demand and supply, ma'am. The demand of entertainment industry has increased too much that sometimes it comes at the cost of a good script or a good story, which even the producers who would want to mint a lot of money fall in trap of. So Bollywood, it should create a narrative like Hollywood. Hollywood sets a narrative. Suppose a Superman movie comes, it is saving the entire world. It is selling the soft power that America is the savior of the world. Such kind of initiatives are not there in India, which I think should be there right now.
So why do you think like censor board is not operational on songs, especially the item songs?
Censor board is doing their work, but because does not have explicit sexual content and such kind of things, so censor board also has a limited say in it. And again, the problems of freedom of speech and expression comes, so censor board also has limited scope in that aspect now. So it's about the message we are trying to portray, which I think needs refurbishation in Bollywood now.
Okay. So my last question to you, tell me what makes you angry and one thing which makes you happy.
I generally get angry when there are certain women atrocities that happen around. Not just the atrocities, but even in nearby families where housewives or my relatives are not treated at par. So that sometimes makes me angry. And I am happy when, in these times, I'm happy when I'm with my child. She's 1.5 years old, and I love spending time with her.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Navdeep, during your service, have you ever seen the forest dwelling communities or the tribal communities facing a problem?
Sir, in Punjab, there is no concept of ST population, but there are certain forest dwelling communities, the OTFT, that is the other traditional forest dwelling communities. They are facing certain problems with respect to how they want to achieve certain kind of fuel woods from the forest areas and how our laws prevent them. There are certain rights in the protected forests that they can access a certain amount of timber for marriage purposes or certain functions like that, but they're not able to gain that kind of trust, and even sometimes we have also not completely won their confidence. So such kind of problems are being faced by the forest dwelling communities.
Right. Indian Meteorological Department has declared, about some noise, pollutions, certain parameters. So there are some permissible noise levels. Are you aware of them? Like industrial sector and many other sectors like commercial, residential, peaceful.
I am not sure of the exact decibels and the limits, but I know the concept, but not what you're asking. Sorry, sir.
Because it has been very much.
Sir, I
right.
can't recall right now, sir.
You being a sociology student, recently one of the nursing syllabus, the concept of dowry has been introduced with its certain merits.
Sir.
So if I ask you to define or delineate, at least the 5 basic merits of the dowry system, what would be your opinion?
Sir, there are no merits of dowry system at all.
It has been included.
Sir, but that has been criticized a lot. I have seen that clip that has been circulated on social media. It's a very derogatory kind of a thing, sir. We should not encourage such kind of activities. There is a school in sociology which says that everything has a functional domain, but then that is just for theoretical purpose and it should not be promoted by the society in that, sir. It does not have any merit in that matter, sir. Only the traditional forms at that time, maybe it's 1 or 2 things we can be just about. In present context, I really don't see any benefit of dowry, sir.
In present time?
Yes.
Whether it was beneficial in the past ages?
So not beneficial, but if you look at the history of dowry, what was dowry? The Stridhan, that what she was taking as the home for her own survival.
Don't you think so Stridhan might empower the women in one sense and help her in terms of the adversaries, and isn't it?
So, but it is projected more in the derogatory sense, that she's come with a price. She's
all right, Navdeep. Yes, I got it. Navdeep, are we moving ahead a process that we call the deglobalization? Because almost every country, they are emphasizing on India first, America first, or some another country first, rather than the interdependence about many more sectors. So, if the situation kept on going, what kind of the word global order you see that?
So the signs of deglobalization are really a true kind of a thing. It is not something we can overlook. Certainly, there are sectors such as you suggested, India first and America first. After COVID, especially, people are protecting their own jobs and they want to develop their own national interest, be it the international domain or be it any economical spheres. But we cannot in the future think of a world which is not connected, because the globalization has spread its tentacles across sectors, not just in economic terms, but people to people contacts and how they are moving towards more integration in terms of cultures. So there are concepts of clash of civilizations and regional identities coming back again. But in the future, I am not too much negative about deglobalization.
Navdeep, a student of sociology, and at the same time having a deep interest in international affairs, What is your insight about India's claim for having a permanent seat at UNSC in a time when almost 80 crore people or 800 million people are being fed by the government of India?
Sir, I'm sorry, 800 people are?
800 million people are being fed by the government of India.
Sir, India has a very good chance at the UNSC because of how our position has elevated in the global order. We are the leader of the third world countries. We are the strongest democracy, the largest democracy, in fact. And how we have contributed in the IPKF, Indian Peacekeeping Forces. Apart from that, in the present Russian-Ukraine conflict, our stand has been appreciated across the countries, and they see us as a very reliable security partner, especially with respect to Indo-Pacific, and how South Asian nations also seeing India as a counter to China. So seeing the entire global order, India has a very good chance of staying.
As far as India-America relations are concerned, the last Trump administration and the current Biden administration, what are those differences about these two administrations vis-a-vis to India's candidature in UNSC as permanent member?
Sir, both the administrations were in favor of India, but Biden's stand has come in a little less positive sense as compared to that of Trump's side also. That is what I believe, but I'm not very sure, so I have to look at it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Navdeep, can you very quickly tell me the difference between forest cover and tree cover?
Ma'am, forest cover is defined in terms of 1 hectare minimum area and 10% of the canopy cover.
Yeah.
Tree cover is the cover which is outside the recorded forest area, and it can have orchards, bamboo forests, or other plantations also. So tree cover is outside that of the recorded forest area in the government records, and forest cover includes even the private forest.
Right. And if I had to ask you, what is the current forestry cover of Punjab? What percentage?
It's 3.61%.
And how much is the average that the Indian Act tells us to maintain?
33%.
33%. So what do you think can be done with regards to that? You are at the ground level right now.
Ma'am, we have to look at the basic problems of afforestation. The first one being the land is so less, specifically in Punjab. The forest land that we have is quite less. There are certain encroachments, but they are not up to that level. But there are certain degraded lands of other departments that we have to take care of. And even our National Green Mission also talks about the same thing. So if we have land, first of all, then we can increase the forest cover. Secondly, the quality of forest which is there needs to be improved a lot. The already dense and the very dense forests, there are a lot of pest issues, there are a lot of other kind of issues which are present in the forest that are not helping it develop completely. Third would be the silvicultural practices that need to be encouraged with respect to tree felling, so that it is scientific in a manner, so that the people of the nearby villages also get benefited out of it, and also the forest gets completely renewed. It should not be an old forest. And fourthly, we have to look at international collaborations and empowering the vulnerable sections around the forest.
That is with regards to the forest. If I had to come to an environmental point of view, Punjab is very infamous for its stubble burning, and that has been an issue continuing and bringing controversy to the state for the last few years now. So why is it the farmers who are resistant, or there is lack of political will to maybe resolve this issue?
And we should look at in the sense of the profit that the farmers are getting out of burning the stubble. Stubble burning can be controlled either in the in situ mechanism or the ex situ mechanism. In situ mechanisms, there are certain procedures in place with respect to happy rotors, machineries, and custom hiring centers that can be taken on rent, but they are quite costly for the farmers. Ex situ measures are also not so economical, so it becomes imperative for them to burn off the stubble in that manner and sow it for the next cycle because of the debt cycle and the related procedures. Political will in terms of arrests and certain activities, as I've seen in Punjab, because agriculture is such a sensitive issue, especially after the farm laws. The arrest and the prosecution that needs to be done is also somewhat done in a less strict manner. So I would say that political angle is also a little there, ma'am.
And you mentioned that one of the issues which makes you angry is unequal treatment to women, maybe in and around you. But again, this is a problem at the societal level in Punjab. We see it in the skewed sex ratio. We see it in the bride trade that is happening because you just don't have enough females in the state. In other neighboring states, there could be a historical perspective, but what is the reason for such a sustained practice in Punjab?
And we can link it to the primary sector nature of Punjab, because it is an agricultural society. So if we see the agricultural societies or primary sector, be it oil or agriculture, we've always seen that women are not treated at par with men. If there was good amount of industry and good amount of service industry in Punjab, then probably we could have seen a better sex ratio and better prevalence of women in all kind of labor participation. So that would be a primary reason. There are secondary reasons also, like that their labor participation is less and there is
But
huge
then
amount
how
of
do you
dowry.
correct it when it is happening at such a big level? How do you correct it in a state like Punjab?
Ma'am, it should be done at both the levels, at both the policing level in terms of security of women, in terms of administration level with respect to educating Beti Padhao and Beti Bachao kind of initiatives, and also it should be done from within the society. The demand should come within the society, from within the society, that girls need to be educated, girls need to actually come out of their homes, and the boys also need to realize that it is important for women to actually step up and create more favorable space for their sisters and their wives. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, Navdeep, do you have any blueprint in your mind to get rid of drug menace in Punjab?
Sir, again, drug menace should be treated both in policing terms and also in terms of people contact, sir. In terms of policing, we need to have the advanced technologies with respect to finding out what are the drug cartels, what are the channels through which drugs are coming. Punjab being a border state, sir, the channels are drones, the new channels. So we need to update ourselves to find out how the entire racket is spreading. Secondly, with respect to people involvement, to identify why the adolescents are moving towards this path. So we need to tackle them at the root itself. So programs like the Buddy program in Punjab, which talks about adolescents empowerment with respect to why drugs are bad. So at both the levels, we need to ensure that drug problems are to be resolved, sir.
One last question before we let you go. Yes, just now we are mentioning that AAP has come with a thumping majority, which is known to everyone, and it has vowed to eradicate corruption from the state. Don't you think it is just an utopian concept, and the government is trying to sell a dream to gullible citizens of the state?
Sir, being apolitical, I would say that selling a dream is just a way of selling a hope, and hope is a very wonderful thing, sir. So corruption, because it is so much ingrained, it cannot be eradicated completely, but because the intention and the hope that people see in the government. So I think I have a very positive view in that sense, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Navdeep. Your interview is out. You may go now.
Come in, sir.
Come. Sit, Navdeep.
Thank you, sir.
So, how was your experience?
So it was nice, sir. Had a good.
You are almost there, ready material for the civil services, I so to say.
Thank you, sir.
Not much of a suggestion from our side. This is going to be your first interview at the UPSC for the civil services.
For civils, yes, sir.
And which attempt is this?
Fourth, sir.
Fourth attempt. So, in the forest service, how much did you score in the interview?
186.
Out of
300, sir.
300. I think this examination also, you will not be getting anything less than this, isn't it? So, this is for 250.
Sir?
This civil services is 250. 275. So, you won't be getting anything less than 180. And the kind of performance just now we have seen, you are capable of getting anything over 200 also.
Sir.
So, you will be doing very well there. Very honest person, and with integrity of purpose, as we call it. Integrity of purpose is there. You have constructive ideas, so innovative ideas were there. You could interact well with board members, a variety of issues. You stayed very calm but confident, firm also in your answers, and neutral also. So these are the qualities of a civil servant. You have already been a part of the government, so you know how the government functions and what are the requirements from the government point of view for a civil servant. All those qualities you know and you possess also. So I think wish you all the best. Nothing else we can tell you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Anything if you want to ask?
Sir, I have given 1 or 2 mocks. It's just that they all have given a similar kind of a feedback. They said you're already there, but sometimes they say that X factor, they would expect more from a matured bureaucrat. So
more, there is no end to it, isn't it?
so they're saying maybe that X
if
factor
I
you
ask,
need to work on.
suppose for just for the advice sake, if I say that you should appear more energetic, more lively and more assertive,
Sure.
then you are already in the civil services, I mean the government department. So it should not appear that you are becoming arrogant. So there is a very thin line between being assertive, though humble, and staying humble, and being arrogant. So it's very difficult for you. The way you stayed, I think you should stay the same way.
Right.
Otherwise, if by any chance, if a sense of arrogance is gets reflected, it spoil the whole show. Stay honest. That is the whole thing. Stay honest. Don't enter into the area of guesswork. And wherever opinion-based questions are asked, try to give a balanced view, which you have already given in many issues. So all those qualities are there. Only our good wishes are there with you, and his blessings. That's it. Okay. All the best to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.